It's totally normal for kids this age not to know what they're doing. And even if they start in regret, that's the coolest thing we've given them through homeschooling is the opportunity to know how to pivot well. I want to talk about a fear that I know our listeners probably have, and that is, but what if my high schooler doesn't know what they want to do?
Well, this is what we've told Olivia. Well, first of all, it's not like she went and got a medical degree and decided she didn't want to do it, right? So we'd be in for a lot more then. And so it's totally okay. And it was always an option that she could continue going to community college if she didn't want to. We're big fans of community college here. Not to say that if any one kid didn't want to start there, that we would be completely against it, but we're big fans of it because we both did it. So that's the first thing. It's like, she could go back to school. Some of her stuff would transfer into her going on and getting another degree. The other thing is, neither one of us, the first year out of college, neither myself nor my husband did the thing that we went to school for.
Absolutely.
I worked in a pool store my first year before I was like, I guess I am actually going to have to go teach to pay back my scholarship. And then I ended up doing the thing I'm doing now. I love to tell my kids was not even invented when I came out of high school, right? If somebody had took 18-year-old me aside and said, you're going to be an author who self-publishes books and you're going to be a podcaster and you're going to sell digital products and courses on this thing called the internet, I would be like, okay.
Right.
Right. So who knows all these years from now what it is they're going to be doing. So there's no reason to get scared or worked up about this because you just don't know where life is going to take you. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing I'm going to say is what we tell moms going into, we have a program called Navigating High School, which is basically how to do all the high school things. And it really starts with mindset. And then we get into all the really practical things. We have, a whole module on what do you do if my kid wants to go in the military or play NCAA sports or, how do I create a transcript and what's a credit hour? We have all of that stuff. But one of the things we talk about through there is number one, giving your kids ownership over their high school process, talking to them about what they want to do, and then creating a high school program that is going to help them accomplish those goals. And then if they don't know what they want to do, then the object of the game is what we call don't close any doors, right?
I like that.
So you've got this high schooler who's unsure what they want to do. Maybe they're even a little unmotivated to do the high school things. I don't know if anybody else has ever come up against a high schooler like that, right? And you're like, okay, I'm butting heads trying to get this kid into college and he doesn't even know if he wants to go to college. Yeah. So then we say, plan for not closing any doors. So look at places where he might want to go or she might want to go and say, do we need a foreign language to get there? Or are there options where we don't have to do a foreign language? And then you can decide whether or not to do the foreign language, but we're not going to close that door. And so that was kind of the mentality I had going all the way through high school with my two oldest is let's don't close any doors, that you might need to still be open. And that was how we planned for things.
Excellent.
Now, my third one, he's a little more thank goodness I finally got somebody who's like, this is what I want to do. And so now I know exactly how to plan on my third one, which maybe is a good thing that I didn't have that on the first two.
Right. So. It would have been a little more traumatizing. If the first one had been that way. It's totally normal for kids this age not to know what they're doing. And even if they start in regret, that's the coolest thing we've given them through homeschooling is the opportunity to know how to pivot well. And to know how to learn and to know how to figure it out. And that to me is one of the goals of homeschooling, especially in high school, is I want you to be a good thinker. You don't have to know everything right now. You don't have to make the right decision right now, but you do need to be working towards that. And if you know how to do that, then it's going to work for you in the end. And I'll just add, I also am not I knew when I was 6 years old that I was meant to be a teacher, 100%, didn't have a question. But if you would have told me that my teaching today looks like no sweat nature study, internet-based classes, I would have also told you were crazy, because there was no such thing. And the world is moving at such a pace right now. I think we just have to go into high school saying, you deserve a college-bound education. And then what you do from there, if you take some twists or some turns or even waste a year or two, it's okay. It's okay. It's all going to be okay.
The only thing I would say to that is if I had a kid who came to me and it's like, okay, I want to be a cabinet maker. I want to apprentice under a cabinet maker. I would not close the college door, but I would allow them the freedom and the time to do that apprenticeship.
100%. Like that. And that's what we did. We actually allowed our kids, as they got into the junior and senior years, to choose some of those apprenticeships or internships or explorations and things that they wanted to do, to try them on for size. They were still expected to get what I would call the bare minimum of a college-bound education. And in that, there are a lot of elective options. And that's where we were like, okay, well, you want to do cabinet making? Yes, I'm going to get you an apprenticeship for this. So yeah, I think we're talking the same language about that for sure. Okay, well, what's another fear, especially for a parent who is just beginning to either think about high school or they have a new high schooler upcoming? What do you see as one of the biggest fears they have?
So I see one of the things that a lot of people think is, oh my goodness, they start this about the end of 7th, beginning of 8th grade, and it kind of can become this big wave that threatens to overwhelm them in 8th grade, especially for people who have done a lot of that multi-age family learning as they've gone along. And they get in there and they're like, oh my goodness, I've got to change everything. Everything that I love about my homeschool has now got to change and be totally different because I'm homeschooling this high schooler. And what I would say to that is, no, it doesn't, right? You do not have to turn your entire homeschool on its head. There's still so much that you can do, to do what you've done all along. If you've always used literature-based curriculum, there's tons of fabulous literature-based curriculum out there for high schoolers. You don't have to immediately start using a textbook or something like that. And so if you still would like to use a literature-based curriculum for history or something, maybe you do that for history and then you use a science text. But you don't have to throw off everything that you've been doing and completely and totally change. The other thing is you don't have to outsource everything. You have that option if you want that option, if your child wants that option. But if they don't, there's so much you could do without putting them in a formal class. You can still work with them and you can still teach with them.
Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.